Good morning. I wanted to give you a new and updated video on borderline personality. And before I start, I'm just going to share 3 different stories with you. The first one was a gal I didn't know very well, and she had started coming to our church and had said she was struggling, so I met her for coffee for a few times and then ended up going to her house. And the more she talked with me, the more depressed she would tell me she was. And pretty soon she was saying things like how suicidal she was. If I would talk to her on the phone, she would say things like, "Go ahead and go. She'd say things like, let the strong people survive and let the weak ones die." And one time I could not get her off the phone. I was trying to get to my daughter's play over at school, and I ended up missing it because I was so trying to caretake this person on the phone. The second one was a classmate I went to school with who would daily talk about taking pills. And finally one of my supervisors said, she's either real and is suicidal and you need to report it and tell someone, or she's being very, very gamey with you. Either way, you need to not play into it. You need to say, look, if you say you're going to take pills, I'm going to call 911. The third one was, I did have a video up last week. Well, it's been up for months. I've gotten thousands of reviews on it. But it was apparently a magnet for people with borderline personality. As you can imagine, it can be depressing to look at videos and see yourself and see symptoms in this. But anyway, this person called and kind of muffled her name. And I called back and she said something about a program. I was trying to be very compassionate, so I let my guard down. I was trying to be very vulnerable and sweet. And this person basically let the full-on borderline rage onto me. And she was upset because she said the video I had posted offered no hope. So today I'm going to hopefully make a little bit more hopeful video and just give you some information here. So you may know from the DSM-4 the symptoms of borderline personality are frantic or real efforts to avoid abandonment, a pattern of intense impersonal relationships, identity disturbance, so they have a struggle with who they really are, their sense of self, impulsivity in promiscuity, spending, eating disorders, binge eating, substance abuse, reckless driving, possible suicidal behavior, gestures, cutting, that kind of thing. Affective, which means emotional instability. That's probably the number one clue, is just kind of this emotional roller coaster. Chronic feelings of emptiness, inappropriate anger and rage, and transient stress-related paranoid ideation or dissociation. And that's kind of where they space out. It's kind of the brain's coping mechanism. Now, who of us can't relate to those symptoms? I mean, we've all felt probably feelings of abandonment, emotional roller coaster feelings, but that doesn't mean everyone's going to be diagnosed with borderline personality. In order to be diagnosed, you have to have 5 of those symptoms, and it has to be, pretty pervasive. Everyone's on a continuum, so there may be times I'm raging. There may be, but I've talked to a lot of people, and they said, no, you're too nice. You're not borderline. So hopefully you're not going to go home and diagnose yourself with that. But if you do see yourself on these symptoms, or if you live with someone like that, I think that diagnoses are only helpful for knowing how to interact with someone. I don't think they're great to give someone a label, but just to help you know how you should be in the world around people like that. And the number one thing I would say with borderline personality is boundaries. So as a therapist, I'm going to be careful about going 5 minutes over. They're going to be the ones to be calling after midnight, and I'm going to say, if this is a real emergency, let's talk. Otherwise, save it for next week. So they will want to always push boundaries. I remember one of my professors said he had a client with borderline personality, and he forgot to schedule her next appointment. And I don't know if it was him or someone he worked with in his practice, but the person went out, got in her car, and drove her car through the tree right outside his window. That's the kind of rage I'm talking about. So causes, a lot of people think it's post-traumatic stress. Oftentimes there's sexual abuse or other types of abuse in the family of origin. Most commonly there's a borderline parent, and people get this modeling on how to behave. So here's the thing. I actually have a ton of sympathy for people with borderline personality. I really, really do, and I think a lot of therapists do. Unfortunately, as I learned from this caller last week, it's kind of that they take you into this sympathy place where your guard is let down and you're feeling emotional and compassionate towards them. And then it's as if they douse you with gasoline and light a match. And then they wonder why people don't want to be in their lives. And I can tell you, even, after that gal called me, I was asking her, what can I do? Can I take the video down? How can I help you? But she wouldn't breathe. I mean, she was so full on in this rage that actually left me shaking and for hours. And later on in the week, I got a phone call from the state that she was in, and I again started shaking. So that's what someone with borderline personality does too. So again, I think there is hope. They can learn skills such as DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, but they also need to have some insight into how their behavior affects other people. Thank you. Bye.